In a reality that refuses to understand and often breeds denial, the Demon King refused but to ignore the truth standing before him, where he stood stunned by the inability of his black flames, which he had long boasted of, to scratch the heroes, wondering bitterly how the hero's blade managed to pierce his hard scales and settle in the depths of his heart. He could not comprehend what was happening, for he saw himself as superior to everyone, he who entered the Demon King Academy at the top and graduated as the exemplary student, and had dedicated himself to studying the Demon King standard, that foundational theory established by the first emperor, with a depth and sincerity surpassing anyone else. He applied the rules to the letter, building the tower and kidnapping princesses as the standard requires, then nurturing the heroes who came to save them, believing that their anger and sorrow were the ultimate feast for a demon king, and that killing them early was a waste. The standards taught him to fatten them up before devouring them, for the stronger the hero, the more delicious the meal, and he followed this approach with absolute devotion, believing that world domination was only a matter of time. And after absorbing the emotions of anger and sorrow from countless beings, he became a demon king unmatched in power. Thus, lying in the dirt covered in blood, he screamed, questioning the reason for his end in this humiliating manner, his eyes filled with confusion and shock at this illogical defeat. The hero looked at him with disgust, describing him and the rest of the demons as identical trash, explaining sarcastically that demons set up this situation for themselves yet always seem shocked by the result, a matter for which he finds no explanation. And when the Demon King denounced his speech, the hero revealed to him that their kidnapping of the famous princess was merely a recognized signal to start the Demon King's activity and an invitation to stop him. The hero mocked the stupidity of the idea of killing the human king, explaining that doing so would plunge the kingdom into chaos. For if the king were kidnapped, those greedy for the throne would start a civil war, and thus human wrath would not be directed towards the Demon King, meaning he would not evolve or increase in strength, which contradicts the teachings of the standard he sanctifies. The hero added, mocking and grateful at the same time, that if the heroes do not go to the demons in the tower, the demons send monsters to the villages, which helps the heroes train seriously. But it becomes much better upon reaching the tower, for the first floor is always stacked with the weak, making it an ideal place for leveling up and refining current skills. The Demon King remembered with regret how he was careful not to kill the heroes halfway to harvest more energy. Believing this was what the standard dictated to him, the hero pulled his sword from the Demon King's body, and the Demon King screamed from the intensity of the pain. And here the hero confronted him with the harsh truth. When the tower becomes old and boring, they simply kill the Demon King. So a new king appears with a new tower, for the entire place is nothing but a hunting ground designed specifically for heroes. The laughter of the other heroes rose as they mocked him, thanking him for helping them raise their levels, describing him sarcastically not just as a Demon King, but as the Godfather who nurtured them. The heroes stood over the body of their exhausted opponent, expressing rudely their satisfaction with the abundant loot, and thanking him sarcastically for providing the best place to increase their levels and train hard. The Demon King repeated the word, Godfather, in daze, disbelieving the shock he received that his great tower was to them nothing but a training ground for collecting points. And despite the hero's admission of his opponent's toughness and that many heroes had met their demise, he belittled those sacrifices, considering with indifference that they only contributed to increasing his personal fame, while the hero was bidding him farewell dismissively in preparation to kill him. The Demon King's anger ignited from the mockery and insult he was subjected to, wondering with a burning sensation about the futility of the Demon King's standard if this was the end. He refused to surrender to death in vain in this humiliating way, so he screamed with all his might, declaring himself. The Demon King, while immense energy began to gather around him, but before he could do anything, the hero cut off his head, and in the last moments of his life, he saw the other heroes laughing and mocking him, threatening them through his sharp gaze that they would pay dearly for insulting him, and swore a definitive vow of that revenge. But the hero stood beside him, warning his comrades against damaging the head due to his greedy desire to seize the horns. The hero suddenly noticed strange sparks emitting from the body lying before him, as the Demon King decided in those moments to sacrifice the last drop of his life to achieve his goal. The hero realized too late that something dangerous was about to happen. The hero screamed, ordering his comrades to flee immediately. A terrifying energy exploded from the Demon King's body, causing a massive boom, and everything vanished amidst a huge explosion and the panicked screams of the heroes. In the final moments of the Demon King, he realized bitterly that the standard was completely wrong and that the heroes used it to mock them. He wished to get one more chance to ignore that standard, and even feed it to the goblins in revenge for what happened. A voice calling the name Piers Dias pierced the stillness of the darkness, causing him to wake up and open his eyes suddenly. He looked around in extreme confusion, trying to comprehend what was happening, and wondering in amazement if he was still alive. Voices rose urging him to advance quickly to the podium, to realize that the name being called belonged to him. Piers Dias was in shock at what was happening, while another person urged him to ascend the podium. The academy principal interrupted him, scolding him for his distraction on his graduation day while being the genius student. And when his eyes fell upon the red badge, the symbol of completing the Demon King Academy, he realized he had returned in time 15 years into the past, specifically to the graduation ceremony. As the graduates were asked to ascend the podium, He realized, despite his ignorance of the reason for his return, that this was his golden opportunity. One of the professors asked him to prepare as the top student, Piers Diaz, to take the oath on behalf of the new Demon Kings. The glowing laws stood before Piers Diaz, reminding him of the Demon King standard, which mandates building a tower within the domain, kidnapping a prince or princess, playing the mastermind role by causing chaos and leaving clues, nurturing heroes to harvest energy from them, and finally filling the lower floors with weak monsters to increase difficulty gradually. He looked at them with disgust, for those standards he had previously memorized by heart until he was nauseated by them, and devoted his entire life to adhering to their principles with extreme precision, were in his eyes now nothing but the garbage that led him to his doom and turned him into a mere puppet manipulated by heroes. While standing amidst the graduation ceremony, he asked himself about the point of swearing before everyone to follow these rules for the rest of his life, while knowing their catastrophic result. He felt an overwhelming rage at the mere thought that they would ask him to follow those laws again. His silence did not last long, as the official called him, asking him to step forward to recite the great standard as the top of his class. But Piers interrupted expectations with his shocking and curt reply when he announced his total refusal. A state of confusion and amazement prevailed among his fellow graduates who did not comprehend what was happening. He did not stop at refusing, but screamed, declaring that he could not swear to such a ridiculous oath, describing following the standard as the most stupid and degenerate act one could do. And he confirmed loudly before everyone that those laws are nothing but trash, which increased the intensity of the situation. Shock and horror dominated the faces of the demons and students present at this unprecedented audacity. That was the defining moment when the greatest academic achiever turned into what they described as the madman of the century. Archduke Arcane Blairimf slammed his hand down in anger, threatening him with immediate execution on the spot for his audacity to insult the sacred Demon King standards. But he reconsidered, trying to contain the situation, so he decided to grant him a last chance given his past exemplary behavior and undeniable immense talent. He gave him the choice between withdrawing his reckless words and apologizing to the general demon world, or facing the punishment of assignment to the Aran region. The hall buzzed with anxious whispers about Aran, that dimension which is considered a graveyard for demon kings, and a sentence of certain death where they die there by the dozens. Some wondered angrily why a criminal like him was granted another chance instead of killing him, considering that an apology was not sufficient. The Archduke warned him in a stern tone that Aran is the worst region where countless demon kings lost their lives. But Piers interrupted him coldly and defiantly, asking to be sent there immediately. He announced his determination to go to prove that the Demon King standards they sanctify are just nonsense, which struck the Archduke with complete astonishment. The Archduke lost his patience and screamed, scolding Piers, describing him as hopeless, and issued an immediate order to transfer him to Aran as his deployment zone. He decided to strip him of any privileges usually granted to top demon kings, and deprived him of any demons accompanying him. The gate opened to swallow him with a strict order banning him from returning to the demon world until the conquest was complete. While falling through the portal, he accepted his fate, considering it an expected result of the chaos he caused. He realized in those moments that Aran is the place where the heroes who killed him in his previous life reside. He remembered that even before turning back time, he had chosen Aran himself in his first life out of arrogance and the belief that the strongest must conquer the greatest difficulty. He admitted to himself that arrogance was what cost him his life previously, because the abundance of heroes there exploited his blind adherence to the standards. Finally, he landed safely, spreading his wings amidst the snows of the Irgest Mountains in the northern continent, ready to start his new journey. Piers resolved this time not to allow a repetition of what happened previously, deciding that he would be the one to exploit the heroes' standards for his benefit instead of being their victim. Events returned to before the start of the graduation ceremony. Gordon Derrick was preparing with extreme care, grooming his appearance as the first and best graduate of the Demon Academy. According to the regulations of the demon world, the Academy trains demons to serve kings, such that the top demon is assigned to serve the top demon king. This privilege sparked the envy and jealousy of other graduates who came in second and third, wishing they had exerted more effort to gain the honor of serving Lord Piers. Gordon saw that all demon kings were great, but he firmly believed that no one matched Lord Piers in greatness. He viewed him as a miracle appearing once in a millennium, a descendant of demonic dragons whose mention history would immortalize, considering graduating in the same year with him a massive blessing. His imagination ran wild, envisioning that together they would be able to conquer any dimension, imagining a huge statue bringing them together as a great king and his loyal assistant. He resolved with intense enthusiasm to carve his own name as well into the glorious pages of the demon world's history. But those rosy dreams collided with a shocking reality when he remembered the moment Piers screamed, describing the standards as garbage. Gordon was struck by an overwhelming shock that shattered his perspective, disbelieving that his idol despised the sacred standards. His mental image was completely destroyed amidst extreme amazement and horror at his king's words. The scene shifted to the deep region of the Irgest Mountains in the northern continent, where Gordon arrived carrying heavy bags amidst the snow. Signs of confusion and despair appeared on him as he wondered why all this happened. Piers was surprised to see him there, for he had been told previously that no demon would accompany him, yet one was sent in the end. When he looked closely, he recognized him and welcomed him. "Gordon," initiated by asking him while breaking down about the reason for doing that reckless act, but Piers pretended not to understand, asking what he meant. Gordon exploded in anger, reminding him of his insult to the standards before everyone, and that this caused their exile to the deadly Aran region, certain that he would die because of him. Piers tried to calm him down, mocking that he would tear his hair out from extreme worry, to which Gordon replied screaming that his hair was not the problem now. In those moments, Piers compared his assistant's current state to what he was before turning back time, where he was characterized by confidence and calmness. He remembered when Gordon used to encourage him, confirming that together they could overcome difficulties, and even claimed he wouldn't have felt enthusiastic had the mission not been in Aran. Piers realized that the state of panic affecting Gordon was justified given the difference in circumstances, and decided not to tell him the truth of his time travel so he wouldn't think him crazy. After catching his breath with difficulty, Gordon apologized for his previous breakdown and decided to commit to his duty given the reality. He soon returned to clinging to the standards, reminding that the first rule requires building a tower, but emphasized that it shouldn't be hidden or in a very harsh environment so heroes could find it. He pointed out with concern that their current location is surrounded by towering mountains and powerful monsters, making it dangerous and impossible for humans to reach, suggesting moving to another place. Piers rejected the proposal firmly, announcing his decision to build the tower in this specific place. He took out the tower seed and planted it in the frozen ground, explaining that it needed Demon King's blood to grow. Gordon was stricken with panic again, accusing him of violating the standards and throwing the Demon King's pride to the wind, to which Piers answered coldly that he never swore to follow those laws. Deep inside, Piers understood his assistant's disgust, realizing the difficulty for a demon to deny a doctrine carved deep into his bones. Piers justified to himself the difficulty of rejecting the standards, considering that unless one experiences death or something equally drastic, one cannot deny them because they are part of their composition as demons. He cut his hand sharply, directing his speech to Gordon to listen well, emphasizing that the Demon King standards are just garbage, specifically mentioning their current region, Aran. His blood flowed onto the tower seed to activate it, and the seed responded immediately, releasing a red beam of light and creating a magic circle in front of them. Piers explained that the reason lies in Aran being overcrowded with heroes beyond description. While the tower was performing the identification process with its user, Piers Dias of the Black Flame Demonic Dragon Clan, and the tower began actually appearing. Piers revealed to his follower the bitter truth that humans, after destroying countless towers, realized how they work and used the Demon King standards as a weapon against them, which explains the constant death of kings in this region. Before Gordon's amazement, Piers mocked, saying they should be named hero standards, because they no longer serve demons. The summoning of the towering tower amidst the snow was completed, and the two stood before it contemplating its hugeness. Piers invited his assistant to enter, only to find the first floor completely empty. Gordon noticed with regret that a normal tower should contain complex structures and monsters, but this tower is empty and without any features, as if designed for a demon king stripped of privileges. The situation continued up to the 5th floor where the king's room was, which was also empty. Gordon accepted the reality regarding the tower that was already built, but insisted on the necessity of following at least the second rule of the standards. He reminded Piers of that rule which mandates kidnapping a prince or princess, preferring to be close to the throne to ensure obtaining greater demonic energy. He asked permission to offer advice, so the king agreed. Then he displayed a map pointing out that the kingdom of Corzin is closest to the Irgest Mountains. He suggested with enthusiasm kidnapping the princess with the highest rank in succession to absorb the kingdom's anger and sorrow and grow quickly. Piers interrupted him, agreeing to the kidnapping idea despite anticipating Gordon's doubts, but he indicated the presence of a specific princess he had his eyes on. Gordon got excited and offered help in the mission, but Piers ordered him to stay to guard the tower under the pretext that the king's residence shouldn't remain empty. Gordon breathed a sigh of relief, believing his master had returned to his senses, and that his previous actions were just stress resulting from graduation, giving hope to fix the situation. And when the assistant asked about the target's identity, Piers shocked him by choosing the kingdom of Hilderin, the nation located in the far south and the farthest possible point from the tower. Piers flew towards a distant castle window, identifying his target as the 13th princess, the one with the least presence and weakest influence among all. He stormed her room announcing his arrival to take her, which made Gordon scream on the other end that this choice is the exact opposite of the standards.